Ooh.
Hello, Christian Metal Group. My name's Jimmy Sarles, and we have Jay down here. We're on the leadership for the Christian Metal Group. How you
Mhm.
doing today, Jay?
Hey, you know what? I'm doing well, man. Lots going on today, but right now it's all about this particular gathering for this interview, yo. We have a legend in the house, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we have Travis Wyrick, who's worked with everybody from Dolly Parton to Disciple. So, yes, including his own music. So, Travis, how you
Yes.
doing today?
I am good, and thank you for that super nice introduction. Bless you all, man. How are you guys doing?
Shoot, man,
Yeah.
I'm fantastic, and the weather's
So,
nice. I can't complain. 6 feet above ground.
It is
amen.
beautiful weather out there.
Amen. Amen.
Awesome. Well, Travis, let's take us back to when you were a kid. Did you grow up in a musical home and did you grow up in a religious home?
So, two great questions. Musical home. So, yes, to the fact that everyone in my family listened to music, and my dad left early on. Kind of grew up single mom story, which a lot of y'all probably have.
Oh yeah.
An amazing mom. She was killing it. Four kids. She listened to what she did. She was Donna Summer and old Motown and all that.
Mhm.
I was Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath. Yeah, I was the metal kid, right? And
Yes. Yes, sir.
might have carved Ozzy in my knuckles. There was no video evidence of that, and it wasn't black like a tattoo. It was yellow because of the infection. So I do not recommend it to anyone out there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
homemade tattoos are not cool.
No.
And my brother was Jackson 5 Commodores, so and my sister was pop. So it was really cool in hindsight. Man, I heard everything. And I also
Mhm.
heard the similarities of all these styles that we don't think about. Country music's rhythmic syncopation sometimes can be just as crazy as a metal band, the way
Right.
they syncopate So yes, musical to that extent. Also, my grandmother was a country singer.
Mm.
Mhm.
And she opened up for like Dolly Parton, man. She played with uh Dolly. She played with Conway Twitty and oh my gosh, who was the Charlie Pride.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
And
wow.
so honestly, guys, I didn't figure this out till later in life on the hey, wait a minute. Did Conway Twitty used to come to my grandmother's house? And we were not well to do. We didn't have money. So did I dream Conway Twitty in his cool shirt or did it really happen? So
Oh wow.
yes to the musical house. That's the long musical house answer, by the way.
And a religious home.
Religious home, good answer. So my mother, we're in the Bible Belt here in Tennessee, and the one thing I think people fall into is sometimes we feel like in the Bible Belt, you're going to heaven because everyone you know is a Christian, and it all has this factory default. I probably grew up with that mindset as a kid. My grandfather was a minister, he was religious, he was a pastor, side work, and my mom was a Christian. We went to church, and at that point in my life, I didn't realize the difference between being saved and giving your life to Christ and doing all the things we do in the Bible Belt. So, in that regard, yes. And I love how you have your Aerosmith record there back there.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gonna get a lot of those OCD moments, so be ready.
Yes.
Um, and so that's part of my testimony. I tell people I always felt like I kind of grandfathered in or defaulted in until later in life, which we'll probably get into, of just when it just really became a day of salvation. Like, this is the day I'm going to give my life to Jesus Christ. He is the only. So I grew up near a religious home would probably be a better answer. My
Yeah.
mom was big time. She made us go to church. Um, and all that stuff. So,
I figured.
right.
So you started what was your first instrument? And
So
then what happened from there? Like as far as you start to play and learn music. Um,
I guess we all come from an instrument, but guitar 13. You got to understand, I'm 54. So if you did the timeline, I'll do it for you. When I was 13, MTV had started to come out in certain neighborhoods who had cable. And I
oh,
would go to my grandmother's because she had cable, and I would watch this new program called MTV. And, there's 2 dozen videos. And it was Journey. And one of the videos was Def Leppard Pyromania. And I just remember seeing those guitar players just going, okay, wait a minute, what's this all about? And I was 13, I was 12. And my older brother, put me in his Camaro because he was working. Everyone works on a Camaro. You don't drive Camaros, you work on them.
Right.
And he cranked up Van Halen Mean Street as loud as it would go. And that little, and I didn't know. I even looked at him. I said, "Man, what is that?" He was like, "That's a guitar, man." So loud. I was like, "I gotta get me one of those." So I literally mowed grass for about 4 months.
Wow.
Because we were broke. And, if I wanted a guitar, I was getting it myself, and I bought a guitar, and that was the start of it. Yeah. So that was my musical journey. It was just obsession of guitar, and I wanted to be a poor man's Jimmy Page and Eddie Van Halen. I loved Zeppelin, Van Halen, that whole era in the 80s. There was some great bands in there, but there was a lot of cheese balls in there too. But yeah, just loving rock. And back then the rock shows were just psychotically entertaining. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, just drawn to all that, I suppose.
And you grew up in Tennessee?
Knoxville, Tennessee, correct.
Yeah, okay. So from my understanding, your first band was a band called Sage. Is that accurate?
Yeah, ironically, first and only band. It was a high school band that just never quit. Gene Simmons made the great comment, "This key to success is never quit and break up like every rock band does." And yeah, we went 14 years, and I, again, I had zero desire or even thought to record and produce and engineer other artists. I bought all this gear, and again, I did not have money. So when I bought a piece of gear, it was a big deal, and probably spent a year saving for it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be able to record my ideas better in my apartment or whatever. So yeah, the band did good. We just kept going and going and going, parties. And next thing you know, I mean, by the time we graduated, we were doing shows with Bon Jovi, Steppenwolf, Peter Frampton, and it was like, okay, wait a minute, this could happen. And to the glory of God, it didn't blow up, because I think it's harder to go on if you ever are a huge deal and you decide to change your career path. I think us never making it helped me to just really realize, that, I don't know, I guess there was no animosity for not making it. So grunge is what killed it, by the way. Grunge came out and all those bands just went away.
What was one of your favorite bands that you toured with or opened with back then?
Honestly, we used to play with a band called Jackal. They played the Chainsaw. Remember that band?
Yeah, they're from my area, so I
right. And they used to open for us, which was just coincidence. So try getting on stage in my little rock and roll boots with chainsaw oil and sawdust everywhere.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but they were amazing, and they were everything we were not. They were entertaining, and they were kind of going for just the big movement of rhythm.
Yeah.
Like AC/DC, they were and we were trying to be way too technical, and we wouldn't really listen to people that were trying to help us. And after watching them just do great ideas simplistically and watch the crowd submit, it helped me to grow. So I do think 14 years of being in that band, I got to see the world from that side of it. So when my bands are in a place, I can talk to them from that place, because I've been there.
Good. Yeah. I definitely.
But yeah, honestly, probably Bad Company. I think they were just, and it was probably hindsight, it was more the hired guns. We just really enjoyed hanging out with them. Yeah, super cool guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, Bad
Company. And they were amazing. Holy cow. They
have all their albums.
Like, okay, I know every song they play,
Yeah, so that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely saw Jackal light a bar stool and cut it up. Light it
on. Yeah.
For sure.
He cut up my bar stool. We used to have this little set where we'd sit in these cute bar stools and try to be extreme more than words, and they had 2 bar stools beside the stage. My singer even goes, "Hey man, I got us covered. I got the bar stools." And all of a sudden, wah, 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 he just destroys. He looked at me and goes, "I'll go get another one." Okay. And don't play acoustic pretty songs after a man before you has a chainsaw. Just a little note to the kids out there. Yeah, never follow up a chainsaw with a ballad.
Hard lesson learned.
Mm-hmm. A two-cycle is slippery, my friends.
Oh man, true. So let's talk about transitioning from, I was about to say being a rocker, but you're still a rocker. But just like the live thing to production, like what were your earliest production influences, and what light bulb went off and made you think, hey, you know what? I think I'm gonna produce and engineer.
That's a great question. I think I started producing my band because I would write the songs in my head and I would hear the music in my head, and I would kind of have to teach. I taught guitar most of my life. That was my side hustle I think I taught guitar from 14 till probably, I don't know, 15 or 20 years, because it's great pay, by the way, for a musician. And if I needed to go on tour for 3 weeks, the kids thought it was cool that I had to cancel because I was going out on tour. So I learned a lot from teaching guitar, but the light bulb go off, I think, was with my own music, because I would hear these counter vocals and 3-part harmonies, and I'd hear this certain snare sound. And then we go in the studio and it just, we'd get it back and it wasn't right to me. It was cool, but it was like, so I think at my house, I started trying to figure out why my guitar, why my kick drum, why my snare, why my vocals that I was working with my band, why they weren't what I needed. So I started trying to work on what I tell my artists: the magic is done before the microphone. Don't kid yourself. There's a lot of cool things you can do, but the performance of the drums before the mic is where John Bonham set the world on fire. They don't go in and Pro Tools him to death and trigger him because he didn't have a good session. And the world's a little too fast to do that nowadays. So I think just trying to learn those lessons, the singer just has to sing better. There's not an effect that's going to make a moderate vocal a great vocal.
Right. Good
So
stuff.
I think that's when production came in, and the psychology of production, and how do I get the singer to make me believe his lyrics about this sad story, and trying to philosophically get them there. So that was the light bulb moment, is realizing how much bigger music was than just me playing a guitar and trying to find a good guitar tone.
That's awesome. So how did it come about, and what was the experience like working with Dolly Parton?
Terrifyingly awesome. So the Dolly thing, a friend of mine called, and one of the studios in town who used to see Dolly had closed. This decade ago, everybody was closing. Maybe longer than that. And they needed a studio, and Dolly's just Dolly. She likes to work in East Tennessee. She likes Nashville, but East Tennessee is where she's from. And usually she'll spend a week up here fixing her theme park and doing a VO here, reading books to children here. And they needed something in the circle. And I was in the circle, and honestly, I just had a good reputation, because with a Dolly, they don't need me to be great. They just need me to not have a criminal record and felonies, and to pass the background check. This is the national treasure. And it was funny, man. They ran my social through the FBI and all, So I was like, okay. So yeah, I just did one the first day I did with her, just euphoric, because most people I work with aren't famous yet.
Yeah.
They're just a bunch of kids wanting to be famous. So then by the third record, if they are having a great career, we're kind of a friendship and a partnership. This is the biggest person in the world walking in my studio, and I'm just, so it was euphoric in that regard.
Is that in your current studio where you're at now?
Correct. It was always in this one. And she was, and she would loved it. And she's a doll. She's everything they say she is. She, there were no media. There's about 7 people, because we had a busy day and everybody got her for an allotted time. And, so at administering and engineering that alone without even microphones is like, okay, this guy wrote a song. We're doing the theme song to Sevierville. This one is too. That was tough, and that's, I call it admin. That was terrifying, but working with her was just insane. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And that was, my daughter has a career now she's trying to do. And Dolly being in the studio was what launched that, her awesome. Watching this amazing, singer be so down to earth and sweet, so.
Your
Yeah,
daughter.
that's that. So I
Your
lucked
daughter.
into that one, and so far my background checks are still checking out. I've worked with her about 6 times, and
Oh,
every
nice.
time I just literally my heart races. You know, how could it not? I don't care how many times you work with Dolly. You know, she's Dolly Parton.
So your
So,
daughter is she a country singer? Like, what's her career?
no, she's we call it soul pop. You can look her up, emilywyrick.com, and she's got stuff on Spotify, but she's definitely got the gene, you know, she's got the passion. She went to Auburn, graduated from college, and decided, you know, she'd always done music since she was a little kid. So she's out doing shows. She played a show last weekend, and Terry Bradshaw was the MC. So we got to meet Terry Bradshaw, which was, if you're an old football guy, that's pretty cool. So she's making a run for us. So yeah, emilywyrick.com, you know, and she's trying, it helps me also to see how different it is. You know, when Pillar did it, it was different. When my band did it, it was different.
Yeah.
When Disciple did it, it was different. Letter Black, it was different. And now it's crazy different. So I think it's helpful for me to see the struggles that the modern artist has, which is no one's going to pay for a record. So don't even think.
Right.
And that's why the ticket might be $35 because they didn't get to sell, you know, 60,000 records, you know, this year. So where's the money coming from? It's coming from inflated tickets, and we've just got to be okay with that if we want to support these people.
Oh man, we gotta touch on that in a little bit for sure. But
absolutely,
first, let's talk about. So of course, it's at some point in time you decided to focus on Christian music for a while, or you know, just really rededicating your life to the Lord. So what was that like, and what was your next move after that?
So neat story, and I've always wanted to say this to the GMA, the Gospel Music Association. And again, I love them; they're great, and it's been an honor with the awards and all that stuff with the bands. But I always wanted to say this, and I'm glad you brought this up because I always want the band to get their, you know, I don't want to be the producer that steps up and, you know, tries to free Tibet or something, you know, it's like,
right.
But I would love to tell GMA and the people involved when I did the first Nailed record, and Nailed is the reason Disciple wanted to record with me because believe it or not, if you hadn't heard of Nailed, you might have to Google it.
Nailed, yes.
Yeah, they were fantastic, right? Scotty Hoagland and all those guys, and we still keep up.
You know the band Hospital then too, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. They recorded that here, and one of my interns, Mike D, who's brilliant, he did that record here in the off hours, and he would play it for me. And the next morning, I'm like, man, this stuff's amazing. Yeah, they're great.
I booked Hospital back around 2000.
Nice.
It's like nobody since then had heard of them. I posted them in the group, and there was a few people's like, yeah, I remember something about that band. Well, I saw Disciple recently.
Yeah.
And Kevin
was at the show, right?
Yes. And he had a Hospital shirt on. And I was like, is that the band Hospital? And he said, yes. He said, if it wasn't for them and Nailed, he said, I wouldn't even be here. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize the connection of the history.
So, that's the triangle because Nailed kind of way I was as a kid. They hated their recordings. Well, my band put a record out that I did in my apartment. Okay. And we're talking analog tape. I mean, not this virtual instrument. I don't even know if computers were around, guys. But anyway, so we did Nailed. Nailed got signed, and Disciple came to me. And I wasn't a Christian yet to the level I think you need to be a Christian to be a Christian. I was still in the default mode, right?
Default.
And you know, my band, we were a party band. We were secular, and we partied, and we did all this crazy stuff. But so Disciple, when I met them, they're like, hey, would you record my band? And in my mind, I was like, no, I'm still in a band trying to make it, and I don't have time to record other people. And I taught guitar all the time. And come on, man, they loved the record I did of my band.
Right.
And they're like, we want these guitar tones. We want these, you know, we want your sound. And I still wasn't getting it. I was like, no. And they, you know, Kevin Smart, he said, well, what do you make teaching? And I you know, $25 an hour. I don't even remember. He said, well, what if we paid you $25 an hour, but instead of teaching, we'll be at your apartment recording the band. And I'm like, so, you know, and this is how Lakeside started. Kevin Young, you know, Kevin is brilliant. I love him. He's like a brother to me.
Yeah.
He is a minister. He's a pastor. He's a mentor. He's a businessman though, and I love that. I say that in the nicest way possible, because you don't do what you do without having a clue of how to run a business, because you can't fill a tour bus up with gas if you don't have a business mindset. Those things get 4 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
And we're going 1,700 miles. So he did. He made that offer to me. And I was like, you know what? Okay. And so we started recording the first record. What was I thinking? And I was not a Christian, guys. And I would come in hungover, just typical guy stuff. And they wouldn't judge me. I had never seen that whole scene where you were tattooed and you were in a Christian metal band, and you had motorcycles and Harleys, and I'd never seen that. I had just seen the Christians that when I went to church, I had my long hair and might have had some earrings, I don't know. And I would get strange looks from people of, what are you doing? This is our church. So I had that, chip of, forget all you guys. But then here comes Disciple in the room. And man, we're making music together. We're buddies. They pray for me. And I was just like, okay. And 2, 3 days, 4 days, 5, I don't even know. I just kept remembering, well, I've never seen this. I've never seen this angle. And to me, it's the real angle of, nothing wrong with the churches and the people that didn't want me in their church, but there's just a point of, Jesus is not coming to your fancy $8 million church. That's just not where he hung out. He went to go help the lost, the sick, and the sacred. Inhale Exhale has a song, maybe the album's called Lost, the Sick, the Sacred. And I love that, and and so through Disciple showing up and not being judgmental first, or not condescending, and the term is punching down, if maybe last year with all the, the dynamics of the world, I was like, man, they came to me at my level. They came to me at my place and in my mindset. And literally and I was still going to church. And I was at church one day, and I just felt God just overwhelmingly say, go forward, when they did the altar call. And it was an actual overwhelming voice. And so, yeah, that is literally the first Disciple record. I was not a Christian.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So then I ran into this quagmire, then let's see, Disciple brought, I don't even remember all the other bands, and Pillar wanted to record with me because they loved that Disciple record, and they want to record with the guy that did the Disciple record. And so then we met, and we did that first Above, then we did, Fireproof. And at that point I was a Christian, though. I had given my life to Christ, and I literally, my phone was ringing off the hook with Christian bands. And it was funny because I always wondered, well, now that I'm saved and I quit drinking and everything, I wonder what I'll do for a living. But here I was doing Christian bands all the time, and I was building a new studio. And I'm still thinking, I wonder. And God's like, oh, man, you're so stupid. I'm sending you all this people and all this work, and you hate to put money to it, but that was paying my bills, and these are fun records that are, to me now, I listen back to these going, man, these are beautiful timestamps of these bands' lives and their stories. And so, yeah, that's how I get into Christian music. It was as a secular producer who literally felt led by the compassion of Disciple and who they were. And that's what made it seem, anyway. So I started praying to God to show himself, the stories from there. So yeah, that's the long version.
Yeah, no, awesome. I love that. See, what's so cool about that too is, people's like, well, is this a Christian band? You always hear that Christians in a band, but people don't see the impact that a band like Disciple makes behind the scenes when they're not on stage.
Absolutely.
That's what I love about that story. They were just being real. They weren't preaching at you and throwing Bibles at you.
They weren't trying. It was real. Yeah.
And that's so good. That's real ministry, that's so good.
Well, and on the other side of that, here we are playing these songs, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's Christian. Okay, cool. Cause I'm still secular, and I'm coming at it from Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, back then, Van Halen, and, Stuck Mojo, Pantera. And of course, obviously, lyrically, a lot of those bands are, dark, but we still wanted the sonic integrity of that.
Right.
Exactly. And so Disciple and I wanted the same thing. And so it was kind of cool because once we started to kind of break through that wall, now, you know, some of the labels in Nashville, oh, it's too heavy, it's too this. You guys got to this, and we were like, no, this is what we made, and if you don't like it, that's cool.
Yeah.
But we wanted that. I don't want to say secular sound because so much has changed, and there's some amazing sounding Christian records. But back then, you know, it either had this soft youth group thing or it didn't, and no one had really punched through at that point. You know, you had, I guess you had your Brides and you had your
Striper.
oh gosh, Striper, yeah, right. Striper did it, you know, with that 80s flair. We were trying to do the darker metal thing. But yeah, so I mean that was it. So it was fun, and it was all about fighting with the label about keeping the guitar tones where we wanted them, which is about right here, just going rah.
Yeah, that's when I discovered Disciple, man. I just latched on, and I was like, I've seen them probably about 16 times or whatever over the years. You know, I'm in South Carolina, so they toured here a lot back in the day, and I did book them one time back in probably around 2001. Yeah, so that made me think of something when you're talking about all that. So did Black Sabbath write the first Christian song?
You know what? Which one are you referring to? Black Sabbath, the song?
Right after Forever, probably.
After Forever, yeah.
You know, and that's a beautiful thought because I love the history. And most people don't realize Black Sabbath invented heavy metal. So one would say they probably did because, you know, and most of Ozzy's lyrics were not loving the devil; it was fighting the devil.
Well, yes, but Tony Iommi wrote that song, that specific song, though.
Oh, did he? And the bass player always wrote the lyrics too, so that was always unless Tony did it.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I would say yes because anyone who has done their homework, you know, Jimmy Page got dark, man. He started dabbling in the occult stuff, and that scares me. I don't want to be anywhere near that stuff.
Right.
But Sabbath never really did all that, and it's funny, you know, even Ozzy solo, most of that was just propaganda stuff to sell tickets. You know, Ozzy for the most part prays to God and to Jesus to protect his family and thanking him for living such a long life, you know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It reminds me I mean, rock and roll itself has always traditionally been, you know, coined the devil's music, but anybody that knows the actual beginnings of rock, like it was really just distorted, like Negro spirituals being sung
gospel,
like forcefully, like Rosetta Tharpe, you know.
Yep.
Her songs were very much Christian. So rock really started as Christian music. And I think that people like Disciple, people like Pillar, you know, PLD, they're really just continuing this legacy and saying, hey, we were actually here before y'all were here. You know,
God created the music, right? To begin with.
Yeah.
And the devil perverted it, right?
Yep. You know, it's funny too, because I love this concept when people come in and, you know, and I get a lot of different attitudes in here, and I don't mind them all. Everyone's allowed to their own. Even from a Christianity standpoint, you know, you get the uber homeschools and they want to stay away from the world, and I respect that. But that's just not who I am. And, you know, to the ends of the earth are some of their mindsets. But I sit there and go, guys, you have to realize Marilyn Manson is closer to salvation than the rich guy with 3 cars and a $5,000 suit, because Marilyn Manson has admitted that he knows the difference between heaven and hell, and he chose the wrong. The guy in the suit may not thinks it's all poppycock, and it's harder to make someone believe something from nothing than it is to talk to Marilyn Manson and go, well, how's your Satan worshiping going? Because God will take you back.
Yeah.
In a drop of a hat. You know, there's part of me, and I've no proof of this, but I listen to James Hetfield interviews and I'm like, you know, he got sober he got sober. And 12 steps is obviously, you know, what it is. And obviously it's got federal funding, so they can't say Jesus and all that stupidity. Right. But I listen to James Hetfield speak and I'm like, man, I feel like he's a Christian now. And he hadn't said it. Now, Megadeth has, obviously, Dave Mustaine, and we've had him in here for a couple of days. We did this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we pulled together Dave Mustaine and Pillar. And it was on Where Do We Go From Here? We did 2 songs. They've never seen the light of day. And I found them on a hard drive and sent them to the band.
Man, I need to hear that.
Like,
my soul.
Right. So that we were trying to figure out on the re-release of a record, do we stick these on here? And but yeah, he was. It was cool because again, he was, he was him. Smoking everything he could get, shooting heroin, and not worshiping the devil, but might as well have been.
Yeah.
And then when he found Christ, he's hardcore because again, he knows the decision, and he chose the wrong one for a decade and or two. And so, yeah.
Have you ever worked with Blackie Lawless from Wasp?
No, that would be cool.
Oh, that
Now,
would.
that would be cool too because and Alice Cooper's on a list I'd like to work with
Oh,
too
of
because
course,
just
of course.
they say there's no one better to his hired guns too, which I thought was a great story.
Yeah.
But Blackie, no, Victor from Place of Skulls, which was in the band Pentagram,
Yes.
who got saved and created the band Place of Skulls,
I love Place of Skulls.
Right, so it's doom metal.
Yeah.
And Victor and I had some pretty heartfelt conversations, and I don't want to break any privacy from him, but I think he'd be okay with me saying he struggled going, "Hey, Travis, Pentagram's doing a reunion. Man, do we change the name?" And I'm like, "Hey, look, if you show up and you're Hopscotch Alley, formerly of, no one cares. If you show up as Pentagram and now you're saved and washed in the blood, well, I mean, the cross is what they hung Jesus on. We idolize it. The pentagram is obviously the sign of the devil, and I don't know enough about it, historically, but I know where Hookham, that came from, and that was Ronnie James Dio's grandmother, or whatever.
Thank you for
So, again, a lot of people just misinformed on where it all came from.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I would love to hear Blackie out and because I do remember I was like, man, this is so cool. I sent a Victor a little interview of Blackie. He said, yeah, absolutely. He said the only thing that he said they play one song he wished he didn't. I don't know if it was about bestiality or something. Yeah, I was like, hey man, we need to kind of pull that one off the books.
Yeah.
But
he didn't play it for a long time. I don't know if they're playing it on their current tour or not.
Yeah, I think in fact I don't think he sung most of the words. He censored like himself.
Just lets it go.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask. Who are your bucket list people you want to work with?
Sure. I mean, it would have been, Eddie's crazy as all get out, but Eddie Van Halen, just as a kid, I think I'm sure it would be a nightmare, but just to be there. It's weird stuff. It would be Alison Krauss. It would be, Jimmy Page. You would just be in the room, yes sir, no sir, because he produced that record as a 17-year-old and played every instrument and was inventing recording techniques that had never happened. So, me sitting there going, well, Jimmy, why don't you do this? Would, he'd stab me in the eyeball, rightfully so. But I mean, I think being around Page during a record and acting like I was helping would be awesome. Ozzy, I know he is where he is in life, but that would be amazing just from my historical why I do this.
Yeah.
Modern day bucket list, I don't know. It would be a tough call because it's been really neat to work with like Letter Blacks and Inhale Exhales and kind of be there from day one. And so that way, when they get somewhere, it's like, man, I wish I had a little bit to do with that.
Yeah.
And just so that part's cool. And again, it's like when Dolly walks in, I'm like, I'm okay, but my heart rate's up a lot more than it should be. And we re-landscape the whole house. So we lose money on Dolly days. We have catering and it's just here, would you like something from the chocolate fountain, Dolly? We have
oh my goodness.
An assortment of deli meats. So yeah, I don't know. That would be I'd have to really, I'm going to randomly throw out a name here in the middle of the interview.
Well, that's all good. So I know you've produced and recorded a lot of our favorite bands. I know we've already been talking about some, Disciple, Pillar, Spoken's one of my favorites.
POD.
Man. Matt Bard is awesome. We're going to be interviewing him at some point. But I'm just going to go over some of the bands just so the audience kind of has an understanding of some the ones you've worked with. We got 10 years, Dolly Parton, POD, Pillar, Disciple, Charlie Daniels. That's amazing.
Yeah. That was
The Letter Black, Super Chick, Nine Lashes, Place of Skulls, Spoken, Children 18-3, Stars Go Dim, We As Humans, Since October. I did book them too. Filter.
Love Since October. I didn't work with Filter. I don't know what that
No,
is.
it says Falter. That's my bad.
Yeah, so no. Someone else did that. I had one of those websites that makes fun of Christians for not building walls and they were calling me out for producing a Filter record. How dare I as a Christian? That's where you read that. And this was false information way before it was cool. What do they call it on social media? What's the term? Misinformation.
Yeah,
Misinformation.
I remember
misinformation,
reading this
fake news,
article
right?
and it
Yeah.
said I'd produced Tool and or Filter and someone else. I'm like,
No.
man, I wished I'd known about that. That would have been pretty
Right,
cool.
exactly. Yeah.
Where's that
There's
paycheck?
another. It was like, it was arms wide open. Creed. Yeah. I was like, dude, when did I produce Creed record?
That's awesome.
I want that royalty check right now.
Yeah, I meant to say Falter. Inhale, Exhale. Let's see who else. The Protest. That's awesome.
Oh, love those dudes.
Let's see. I mean, there's so
amazing graphic designer too. Anybody out there looking for graphics? They've done
really
a lot of stuff for a lot of my bands, man, and they're great to work with. Very cost effective.
And
cool.
the Dirty Gospel and Mountain People Worship. So you've got quite a different variety of stuff. What's been some of your favorites to work with as just far as not really style of music, but just being fun in the studio?
You know, it's always, honestly, it's the bands that love each other. So, you know, Pillar, you know, for example, we'll track all day and then we'll go wakeboard at 5:01, you know,
awesome.
and all that. And then we'll go snowboard. POD's a blast. They're always good hangs. Sunny. Shinedown early version, Brent Smith is from Knoxville, and I tracked his first two projects when he was 15. And that, you know, and this is, yeah. And dude, when he sang as a 15-year-old, I literally, back then it was in a condo where we tracked the first Disciple 2 records. And I ran in the other room because I thought they were playing a joke on me. I thought they had stuck an old R&B singer in the room because this little 15-year-old kid was just, and I was like, there's no way that kid sings like that. So Brent and I worked together for years. I'd let him come in at night and do demos, you know, just songwriting demos because Atlantic really started showing interest in the band, but mostly him. They signed his band and kind of got rid of the band and gave him a credit card and said, go build a band. Let's do this. And that's what became a Shinedown. Yeah. Right. So he called me a few years back. We text every couple years, man, because I'm just, you know, totally blown away with what he's become.
That's so cool.
Oh, yeah. And he was coming looking for DAT tapes of all the, you know, we had about 30 songs we'd recorded because you know how it is. You'll pull something up and some co-writer will go, hey, I can run with that hook. And next thing you know, he's written a song from. So he came by and got all his DAT tapes, which I should have made copies because I'd love to get.
Did you work on Pillar on their first album?
Yes. Now they did one thing back at home.
Set it off.
But a Superman, original Superman or something like that.
Yeah.
I did Above. There was the first, and Above was done on analog tape, guys, for all of you engineers out there. In other words, you got to know how to play your instrument back in those days. So, and we did. We tracked that whole thing analog. Second record we did on Radar, which I hated. The label insisted that it be digital, which was fine because back then, you know, digital was so cool.
Yeah. So that I booked Pillar. So I did a lot of booking promoting in my area, and that was the biggest show that I had ever booked was them. They were on tour with East West and the Benjamin Gate.
Benjamin Gate, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Such down to earth guys. They were so nice. Was that the same tour? Yeah, I think so. No, it was East West and the Benjamin Gate. Yeah.
Would that have been Fireproof you're talking? Because
I believe so. I believe so.
Was Lester there yet? Because Fireproof was tracked without Lester, but had Noah.
Yeah.
And on the 20th anniversary, our goal was to have Lester retrack all the drums, and the drummer did great and has, you know, he's a great guy. He just, the touring life.
He just has such a signature sound. For sure.
Yeah, Lester just puts these things, man, that just rock guys don't do. You know, he grew up in Black church, and so just this insane, And Lester he's not just a drummer. He can pick up a bass. He'll actually say terms to me engineering wise when we're listening to a playback. So it's really unique. Most drummers just don't go there.
Did you ever work with his brother?
Say again?
Did you ever work with his brother?
Oh yeah. And same kind of scenario. One of my engineers did that first record, Star 63, no, Tree 63, something different.
Yeah.
Was he Starlit Platoon or something?
He was in. Was it Super Chick?
Yeah, he was in Super Chick.
He was a drummer for Super Chick, but he had a band on the side where he was the guy.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Nice.
Starlit Platoon or something. Send a text out. Someone will throw it at you. It was great stuff.
I remember.
But I think it was his band. He sang and played guitar.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, so I've worked with him, and then with Super Chick, obviously we tracked drums. He was the drummer on that.
Yeah,
Matt was awesome. We did 2 Super Chick records. Yeah, they were great.
Man, I used to be in a band that did Ichthus Festival like every year. We headlined and had a lot of major like players within the band, like Victor Wooten. Like imagine Victor Wooten doing a Christian rock festival. And,
right.
And also like Phil Keaggy was in the band. So imagine if Victor Wooten and Phil Keaggy being in the same band.
And Jeff.
But yeah, I was the rookie guy in there. But yeah, like seeing people like Pillar, yeah. So we saw Pillar and Disciple, like they co-headlined with us a lot. And so did and Skillet. But yeah, we're talking about Pillar and Disciple right now. But yeah, those guys, man. Pillar.
Yeah.
Such an amazing live band.
Well, and it's cool because again, Noah was always a beast. You know, when you grow up on Pantera, you're probably going to be insanely tight rhythmically.
Yeah.
Noah has those hands that people go, you just, he has the mutes. I mean, he's a phenomenal rhythm player and an amazing lead player, but the little boogie woogie rhythms he comes up with, man, they're just so cool and so bizarre in a good way. And then you've got Lester not playing it the way everyone else would. And so how was Pillar not to stand out? Because again, those two alone just brought such a unique side. And so that record, and then the next one, where do we go from here, was the first one with both of them on it. You know, Rob was always amazing. Rob always writes these amazing parts, and Mike's just such a intricate leader of the band. He's
by the way of Pillar, did you ever work with 1,000 Foot Crutch?
No. I actually have worked with Trevor a lot. Is that the right band? Did I get that right? Did I? Okay, yeah. Sometimes my brain shuts down.
Yeah, you're right.
Trevor and I have done a lot together, but Trevor's got his own thing where he's kind of one man show it when he needs to be. So
nice.
Yeah, but he and I have done a lot. We've done some co-works here and there and some features, and super cool guy. So I mean, I consider him a friend. But yeah, we'd never done a record of his together or anything.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. Well, going back to the Victor Wooten thing you said. So a lot of in the early stages, and I'll do a bluegrass record, I'll do a metal record, I'll do a rock record, I'll do a black gospel record. One of my favorite records was early on. I did Grace in Motion, and
Grace in Motion.
Yeah.
You're talking about I know those guys at Halloran Hill.
Halloran Hill, man, that's one of my mentors. That's one of my dudes. Hal's one of my best friends.
So cool.
Oh yeah, best friend.
Halloran Hill is one of the most amazing songwriters.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's done. Get this. Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin, Take Six. So get this, bro. He has Take Six in here. He has. Is it Greg from Take Six, the main guy?
Oh yeah, you know.
Oh, you talking about Take Six? Now those are my dudes, man.
Yeah, right. So right here we set up the Kurzweil, and the main guy. I'm going to say John.
Mark Kibble. It's Mark Kibble.
Mark. I was going to say John or Mark. And John's got the 10 fingers, and we got the whole band circled around. Now, get who the band is. JD Blair on drums.
I know JD Blair, dude. We work together all the time.
Small
he
world.
Couldn't finish the record because he got the Shania Twain tour, and she was paying an insane amount of money every night for 2 years. It was so cool because his wife came back and said, "Travis, what a blessing! We bought a house and paid cash."
Yeah,
wow.
Judy
that's he said, "I've watched JD work so hard." Huge recognition, but most great recognition isn't a great payday. So here's
exactly.
Shania with the Great Payday. So he couldn't finish the record. So we had a great guy come in, Alonzo Lewis. The bass player was Kelvin Wooten. And,
Oh, I know
Kelvin's
Kevin
on the
Wooten
other
too. We
side
used to
over
be in a
there.
band together.
Yeah,
What?
they were in a band together for this record.
Kelvin's
Live. And the first time
crazy.
we did it, hey, analog tape again, right? And Jay was on bass. Kelvin,
He plays keys too. So
yeah. Wait, let me think about. Yeah, and then vocals was Halloran and three other guys that were phenomenal.
mhm.
And so anyway, that was, and then again, Mark came in from take six, and it was so cool because if you've ever heard it, it's 6-part whatever. There's three over here that it's just like, how does one human being, and
Yeah.
every year that just, here's your Grammy. we're not even going to announce that here's your Grammy for vocal group of the year.
Oh
But
yeah.
he starts playing this, and he's playing the song that the band had, and we already had the band laid out. And Mark starts, he'll tap a note, and he'll point to you, and he'll give you, and I won't call the guy out, but one of the band guys, they gave him a note. And if y'all know theory, like suspended 4s and 2s and 7s,
Yeah, exactly.
there's some notes you just don't want to have to grab out of thin air. 1, 3, 5 all day long. Sign me up. And I love the crazy harmony stuff because that's the kind of stuff we would do on those 10 years records. Wasteland, we'd put all those suspensions, and that's just what I think makes music great. Are these, and
Right.
Disciple loves these kind of things. So Kevin, I just kicked you. So Kevin and I will chase these harmonies forever, and they're just weird, scaring the labels to death. So Mark's giving out all these notes, and everyone's, all right, everybody hit it, and they'd go, and you just have chills. And one of the guys goes, hey man, somebody switch notes with me. I'll never in my life be able to pull that note out of the air. And 3 notes is hard. 6, come on. But again, and that was the brilliance of Mark. And he was
he's built differently.
Well, again, these are these brilliant people, and the humility was just over the top, which is always inspiring because you're sitting there going, okay, this guy's got it going on, and it's not all about him.
Right.
It's not about you. That's the biggest lesson I beg these people. It's not about you, man. It's going to take a lot of people to make this ministry work or this band work. It's secular.
Exactly.
But yeah, those were great records. That
is crazy. But of course, you're in Nashville, so and all those people.
Knoxville. I'm in Knoxville.
Oh, you're in Knoxville. That's right, Knoxville. Yeah. Oh, that's right. And Halloran's in Knoxville. So
yes, sir.
You see him
right down the street. Right down the street. Oh, we had food. We had, we probably talk twice a week. I mean, he's one of my best friends.
Wow.
One of my mentors. When I first started really, when things started taking off, he would be the guy to go, hey, watch out for this. And he said, this is one of my life lessons I pour out. And this is Halloran's. He said, Travis, I noticed this about you when we first started working together. He said, man, you're great at X, you're great at Y, you're great at Z, man. You're kind of a little autistically off the chart with that. You're not very good at this, this, and this, although I see you all day long trying to do that. My advice to you would be get someone very good at that and have them do it, because you're spinning your tires over here and you're not doing what God gave you this weird talent to do. Wow. Now, it's not saying don't go learn how to do something because Halloran said so.
Right.
It's just like if that's not your spiritual gift, or if it's not something you excel at, still try to do it on the side. But again, there's 24 hours in a day. Do you really want to spend 23 of them trying to learn how to speak German when it really isn't going to change your destination? Right. Those 23 hours, you could do a lot of good with the talent God gave you. And it's kind of trying to figure out, what is your special talent? I tell people, some people can see through walls. Noah from Pillar can see through walls. He's special. Lester can see through walls. He's special. He's got a superpower. And do you use it every day? So anyway.
Jay, it sounds like you need to book a trip up to Knoxville, man.
I know what I do, man.
Oh yeah.
Me and Howard have been talking about doing some stuff for forever, and we've done a little bit together. There's a song that JD actually has done that me and Howard wrote together.
No.
And that I think he's gonna put out at some point. But yeah, I kind of was a co-producer on JD's album 2012 that he did with Vic on Vic's record label.
Woo.
Yeah, so that's Yeah, so that's like, dang, that's a lot of interesting history. It's so funny because
Yeah.
Jimmy knows like the stuff you were doing with, just some of the people that you worked with on one end, and I know, about some of the people you worked with on another
But
end.
between the two of us, we know somebody.
That's right. That's right.
Somebody somewhere.
Yeah, and it's funny because I walked away from that Grace and Motion session smarter because we all get our egos and we got to check them, man. Once you learn how to play guitar pretty good, you're like, oh, look at me, I can play, and then someone's better than you, and you're like, okay, fine. But it's okay. A little bit of arrogance, just confidence is a better word. But
Yeah.
in those sessions, I was, intimidated maybe because to see these guys play at that level, and I'd never seen bands play live. Like that Grace
Yeah.
Emotion record, man. What
Yeah.
you hear was me hitting record on analog tape. Now we go back and layer some keys, Jay on keys. And
Wow.
no, Kelvin was on keys. Kelvin was on keys.
Kelvin, man, dude, like Kelvin, insane on keys and bass, man.
Yeah.
Oh
Jay
my
was
God.
on bass. I'll try to remember his last name because I didn't keep up with him like I should have. And JD, of course, is JD. I mean, he's
It wasn't Jay Goodwin, was it?
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I was definitely a rookie, like for real.
That's a Google move. We could Google that one up. The cool thing too is I have that Jay. I have that record hanging in there, and so every now and then someone will be like, "Dude, wait a minute," because there's all this,
Yeah.
And wait, what is that right there? There's some MTV compilation and Ninja Turtles. POD. We did a Ninja Turtles. So I was like, wait a minute, you worked with the Ninja Turtles? I'm like, yeah,
I remember
Donatello
that.
has an attitude. That Donatello, you get it. But no, we did one song for a movie on Ninja Turtles, and and that way you get to put it up on the Wall of Fame.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up because I'm a huge Ninja Turtles and POD fan. So
yes,
well, absolutely. And the song was I usually know working titles, and so I'd have to find out what they eventually called it. But yeah, that was a fun one.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, being in Tennessee, did you ever work with Pastor Bob Beeman?
If I did, I'm so bad with names I wouldn't remember it. So I'm going to say no.
He does the Sanctuary International, the metal pastor. Where's he at, Jay?
Wait, he got the crazy cool hair?
Yeah.
Yeah. I follow him on social, but never worked with him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So
I don't do names, I describe people.
Yeah. I'm the same way, dude. I tell you see so many people, even from church, like started there. Like
my wife knows better. You mean the girl with the earrings and the crazy cowlick? Yeah, that's her.
That one, yeah.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yo, so who are your favorite producers? Like top 5.
And as a kid, I feel like Mutt Lange would have been the one. Quincy Jones, obviously, because of Quincy, growing up worshiping Michael Jackson's works because it was just so fresh at the time. And we look back and study and go, oh, well, they just did this. I'm like, yeah, man, that was 40 years ago. So nobody was doing what Quincy was doing in that world. But Mutt Lange would have been the second coming of that. Love Howard Benson, even though we work with a lot of the same bands, man. And it's kind of cool because a lot of my artists work with him. They'll even say, man, it's kind of cool. You think like him, your ideas are like him. I'm like, oh, no. I worship him, so I clone him. Yeah. And it's cool to have a sonny go, oh, that's cool. Howard would have done this and this also. And I'm like, oh, man, because just the way he hears music. And hearing an interview of his once, it was his wife that really launched his, because he would get all into the music and, he's insane. I remember Brian from 10 years saying, man, you put that guy on a piano and he'll blow your mind. And he can write those crazy harmonies too, that kind of like Mark was doing from Take 6 of you hit this note, you hit this note. And he was doing his wife would hear all these demos and say, honey, don't take this wrong. If I'm, not verbatiming, and I don't want to misquote Howard Benson because I have so much respect for him, but his wife to the most part said, I feel like you spend all your energy making the music great, but honey, are you really trying to make the song better? And he sat there and took that to heart, and he went back and started. And I think if I'm doing the math, POD might have been one of his first big wow records. And he said he started to promote these records of Song First. lyrics first, melody first, and the band can still be great. And then you're talking Chemical Romance and just Flyleaf and all these things. But if I'm saying it right, his wife was the one who made him realize, I want you to pay more attention to the song.
Mm.
And that's where I think I separate myself, because a lot of people come in here and, oh, let's spend hours obsessing over the hi-hats and the snare. And I'm like, man, okay, but first and foremost, is this song going to move people's minds? Are they going to hear that vocal and just cry like I do when I hear Robert Plant nail something back in the day? So yeah, that would say that angle, Howard Benson, Mutt Lange, because of what he was so ahead of his time. Modern day, man, all the Butch Viggs and all that, some of the guys like to stay out of the way and just be I love Rick Rubin, but he's not a hands-on guy. He's a come in and light some incense and cross his legs and tell you the bridge sucks.
What about
the Spirit spoke to him and said the intro needs to be redone.
What about Garth?
Oh yes, love him. Yeah, right. Well, hey, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, man. One of my favorite Chili Pepper records. Holy cow! Engineering wise, those drums. Now look who was playing those drums. Let's not forget. Because again, before that microphone is one of the best drummers on the planet.
Right.
And so the engineer, his job was to not mess up where he put those mics, because the best drummer on earth is playing drums. So that was it goes back to my, what's happening before the microphone, fellas, because the computers can't make things awesome. They can forensics a little bit, but you've got to make sure that singer just laid their life on the line for that take.
Wow.
So those are my favorite producers.
Yeah.
Al Bean, right? With Al Bean, didn't he just pass away?
I'm not sure.
He did like some crazy tonic records. He was into all these weird compressions and no rules. Steve Albini.
Oh yeah. Yes, Albini. Yes,
that's and I think he did just pass away. I really did.
Yeah. I did hear about that. Yes.
And then mix wise, Mike Shipley was the guy growing up and Chris Lord Alge, and Tom Lord Alge, mix wise. And I got to sit in on a session. Chris did Fireproof, one song, Fireproof. I think it was Bring Me Down. But scratch that. He did the song Bring Me Down. And I got to sit in on that session, and I walked away with my head spinning, man. That guy's brilliance. And it's weird because he takes it so simple, but yet he's being brilliant in his approach to simplicity. What can we remove to make this better? And that's kind of where Rick Rubin goes too, is, hey, are we trying too hard here, fellas? Can we pull a lot of this out? But yeah, so those would be my guys.
That's awesome. Well, I wanted to ask about your solo project called Wyrick.
Yeah.
So, I know you released Mental Floss in 1998, which was,
and I still have that CD.
Yeah, I discovered that probably 20 years ago. It's probably my favorite industrial metal album.
Oh man, thank you.
And then you released Aggressive State in 1999. Now, to be honest, I didn't even know about the follow-up album, Aggressive State, until a couple years ago, and I was able to track one down on like Discogs or something. But I love Mental Floss. So, how did that come about as far as getting that up and running?
So it's funny because the answer you're going to get is not what you were expecting. I was in a secular 80. Yeah. So it's a great question. I was in a secular 80s band for 15 years. And we played with Bon Jovi. We were of that genre. And all of a sudden, during that 15 years, Metallica got big, 9 Inch Nails and Prodigy. And I just loved that stuff. And I taught these kids all this heavy metal, Pantera, but my band didn't do that.
Yeah.
So it was almost like when I wasn't in band practice and I wasn't writing it, I would sneak over here. And really, I just, after I got saved and I'd buy more gear, I would just write music like I've done my whole life. And it became 2 or 3 songs. And I had a Christian label. It was Disciples label said, hey, Brad from Disciple said, man, you got to play that stuff for the label. I'm like, oh, this is just me playing around with knobs. Never intended anyone on earth to hear those things.
Wow.
And I had 3 of them done. I'll go back and figure out which 3. And he played it for the label. And the guy said, "Can you do 10 of these?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay." And that was it. And so we did 10 under Rugged Records. And it was literally me just loving that type of music. Now, when it came to the lyric, very insecure about my voice, very insecure about singing. I tell God gives people a great voice. He gave me a really good ear, and I hear things a lot of people don't, and I can hear things that aren't there yet. And again, that's kind of like I was saying earlier. That's what I'm good at. Singing, no. My daughter sings, I'm in awe. Kevin from Disciple sings, I'm in awe. But I can harmonize, and you'll think I'm good because they're good. I'm living vicariously through their beauty. And I call it tone in the studio all the time. I'm like, Tone. I don't need you to sing in G sharp, man. I need you to bring a performance of believability where your tone is just breathtaking. Stop thinking about being in key because no one cares. Mick Jagger's never been in key. It doesn't seem to bother anybody. Bruce Springsteen, one of these days, he's going to be in key and we're going to love it. Yeah, go listen to I'm on Fire by Bruce Springsteen. And you'll sit there and go, huh. But he is so involved in the story that we don't care that he's so not in key.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah.
Any plans to make a follow-up album?
Man, honestly, I've got a few I might post out of nowhere, but yeah, so doing that stuff was fun. Lyrically recording, I could see me dropping a few here and there, but
that would be fun, man.
Man, a lot of those lyrics, honestly, the hooks I would write, but a lot of those verses were on the spot. And I hate to use the word, I hate this term because it's dangerous. Hate's a strong word, but man, God just really put it on my heart. I would literally, I knew what the song was about, and I would just sit here and I'd write the whole first verse and record it in a couple of takes and be done with it.
Nice.
As a producer who is not afraid to do 500 takes on another artist, man, I bag it and tag it. I hit it and get out of there because I don't want to do it. I don't want to sing. I'm like, I can't wait for, guitar, sure, programming. And that first album, guys, was analog tape. Computers weren't around yet. So it was a pain to do. It was bordering on miserable to do that first track.
Did you ever get a chance to work with Clank?
No, but we spoke often because of after that record. I think we met a few times, and yeah, because he was doing it way back in the day.
Oh, so, I love his stuff too, for sure.
Yeah. There was another guy doing it who got into themes of music or movies. I can't remember, and I think it was Christian based, but he was super cool. I think he ended up doing. Say again.
Cell Dweller.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. And I think he got into cataloging, which is great. I just don't have fun doing catalog. A lot of my interns do the catalog thing where you just create a bunch of music and turn it in. And it's so talented. It's so cool, but I enjoy a bunch of dudes sitting here, a little spin. This is where we track and and us just kind of back and forth going, man, what if we put this song in a different key and sped it up and yeah, let's try it. And then an hour later, man, that's the worst idea in the world. And I like that. That's fun to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about your approaches to producing different genres or just producing overall. Like what's your obviously you can't tell there's so much involved in it. But how can you go from Grace in Motion to to Killer to POD,
I got you. So I jokingly say I can't do 3 metal bands in a row. I mean, your brain is just at the end of the day, you're just as my engineer says, it sounds like we threw a drum set down the hallway. But no, it's weird. I don't think of any 2 records the same. And honestly, Jay, I don't even know when I start what I'm going to do first until I get them in here and I meet them and I watch them play. I had a band in, a gospel band, Dirty Gospel. They're not a gospel band, Southern Rock. And man, our first thought is, hey, let's keep it live and let's set them up. And then I saw some footage of them live and I'm like, man, the best guy in the band is the rhythm guitar player singer. So I kind of had to do the been down that road 100 times, 1,000 times. Don't start with the rhythm section if I don't think that they're the strength of the band, the singer and the guitar player. So I literally started with the guitar on a Southern rock band, but I kind of wanted to get the song to a certain place before the band came in and tried to keep up with it. So I say that as in, a lot of times I try to find out the strength of the song or the strength of the band. You know, rock and roll, a lot of times we track the drums last now. We did that on the last Disciple record I did, because it gives us all the freedom to do, oh man, what if, and we get to, you know, and then Joey will come in, and Joey has the ideas. He's, you know, he's big part of it, and an amazing drummer.
We just interviewed him. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, we sure
I
did.
saw that. Yeah, love him. Well, and I love that it was his dream to even play a Disciple show, and the next thing you know, they're inviting him in the
That's
band.
so good.
He's so good.
That's like
yeah, well, and I'll be honest with you, I love the guy for a lot of reasons. His openness on mental health online, man, who knows how many people he's saving by being that vulnerable.
100%.
And you know, I same with me. I throw out I don't drink. I'm 27 years sober, and I try to keep that. It's not a boastful comment, but after saying that and this thing airs, I'll get a dozen people text me going, "Hey, my wife's about to leave. My kids hate me. How did you get sober?"
There you go.
And you're like, wow, what a powerful tool. We were just doing an interview about, you know, the kick drum.
Yeah.
And so, but again, I love that about Joey, because who knows how many people he's saved by, wow, if Joey, who I think is the coolest guy in the world and looks to have everything we would want in life, struggles as I do, then maybe I'm not as bad as I think I am, and maybe I can help. And Joey just being vulnerable is what did that. And that's the power we all have. Look what you guys are doing. Yeah, we're talking about records, and that Aerosmith is record behind you. I know every note, man, every note. I worship that record. But all that being said, man, you know, when are we affecting lives? We have no idea. What'd you hide back there? Is that your Dungeons and Dragons? Come on. What is that? Star Wars? Oh my goodness. I'm tearing up a little bit. Whoa.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a figurine?
It's like a Funko Pop thing. I was thinking about our conversation about Ozzy earlier, and I was like, let me highlight this real quick, man.
I could play every note on that record.
I have Def Leppard right under that.
Got Dio next to Striper. Is that okay?
Oh, Dio scares me now. Some of that artwork scares me.
Oh man.
Now they're fighting each other on your wall, so that's good.
There we go. Yeah.
So I got to meet Ozzy, and I took I took Blizzard of Oz vinyl, and Ozzy fell off the wagon, shocker, and I didn't get his autograph. This was 30 years ago. I was like, who is that? And the guitar player signed it, and I don't even know who he was, Jay. It wasn't Zach or any of those guys. So he even said, dude, I don't need to sign this. That's sacrilegious. So I was like, no, it's cool. And in hindsight, I'm like, man, that kid was so... I think it was when he was touring with Randy Rhoads' Student. And, you know, it was, I can't remember the kid's name, so maybe someone will throw it up.
Jackie Lee, was it?
Excuse me?
Jackie Lee?
No, it wasn't Jakey Lee, because I worship Jake. This was the post-Zach Wild, and Ozzy and Sharon thought they could just stick anybody out there, and there was a couple guys here and there, and you know, and it was supposedly it was Randy, and he did great, but he, you know, I love Jakey Lee probably as much as the Randy stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so all that being said, yeah, that whole era is just, it brings me to my childhood. So and me sitting in my room 13 hours a day playing guitar. I obsessed over practice. I was the weirdest. You know, and I guess I was in a tough part of my life, and when I played guitar, I didn't know I wasn't struggling. So music saved my life, as a billion people have said before, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
I love it.
So what's one thing people watching this may not know about you? Like one interesting thing or talent or anything?
I mean, you know, I'm a family man, because you know, I don't put my family before God, or I try not to. It's very hard to do. Y'all know that. So I think people know when I walked away, you know, and no regrets on the family life over the musician life. And God blessed me with the ability to make music in my basement. Man, I don't know. That's a good one. I'm a horrible golfer, but that's not surprising. I think everyone would assume that. You know what? Okay. I'll go vulnerable.
Okay.
I'll go vulnerable.
All right.
I love Barry Manilow, and I probably know the lyrics to a lot of his songs.
Nice.
And
That
I'm
was
probably
great.
never going to do another metal
That was
record again after
That
today.
was amazing.
brave.
That was amazing. Hey, Barry
Oh,
Manilow,
Mandy.
right?
No.
Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, you're a producer, and I think that the people that produced those records were doing some serious production.
I think
Well, and that's live
versus
strings, and you're sitting there going,
yeah,
how much money did they spend? Listen to that. I hear oboes and woodwinds. It's
yeah.
like, you know,
I mean,
today had been put
you
it
gotta
out.
be diverse too, though, right? You know.
Yeah. Well, to me, a song's a song and a great voice is a great. People are like, well, how can you do metal and this? I'm like, hey, I can hear Sarah from Letter Black sing and get chills. I can hear Dolly sing and get chills. I
Yeah.
can hear, Metallica sing and get chills. Great is great. It doesn't matter what genre you're playing. It doesn't matter how much distortion is on the guitar.
Right.
I mean, you got to remember, Journey invented the power ballad by accident, and half the band was willing to quit the band because they didn't want to do ballads. They thought it was stupid until Journey started playing football stadiums.
Until
and then they were like,
until
hey,
they got
wait a
the
minute.
paycheck.
Wait a minute. We sold how many records?
Yeah. Yeah.
Faithfully, and those other songs, man. Neil Sean and the band were like, man, we're a rock band, y'all. And all of a sudden, hey, we're on the radio, and there's a bunch of people at the shows. So
True.
a great song won out. Now people went and found out their rock stuff was great too. But you could even think back to More Than Words. Everybody thought they were some sweet little acoustic thing, and Extreme, he's one of the best guitar players on the planet. So they'd come out and do a hard rock show. I wouldn't call
Is
them
that
metal.
like when Def Leppard sold out with Porcelain?
Yeah, right. Sold out every stadium. Yeah.
Yes,
And Def
exactly.
Leppard was my band. So I think finding out what Mutt Lange did on that is probably when I really got intrigued on production. Wait a minute. You're telling me those aren't real drums, and he tracked each string one by one? Is he crazy? Yeah, but it's a cool record.
I'm excited.
You're not tripping about this, dude.
I'm going to see Def Leppard. Oh, no way. That's cool.
What is it?
Just more Funko stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, show it to me. I've still got him on the screen. Oh, there you are. Yeah. That's awesome.
Crazy.
Ooh,
yeah. I'm going to see Journey, Def Leppard, and Steve Miller Band, and I've never seen any of them, so I'm excited about that.
Well, Nerd Candy, Steve Miller was the first artist to use in-ears. He invented them, kind of like Tom Schultz. He had this rack literally as tall as me, and he had figured out how to wire out the snake and take the own signal and mixed his own in-ears.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if he had a hearing problem or he was just bored one day and wanted to invent in-ears. But and he's legit, man. He's great. Def Leppard's cool. They still hang. I hadn't seen him in 20 years, but I'd go to that.
Yeah.
If Steve Perry played anywhere, I would. Here's a term I use, and y'all can start using this on your show. When I ask people, I know who you love. Who would you get on an airplane to go see?
Oh.
Like, now you're writing a check. Would you cut a check to go see John Mayer? I would, because my family loves him. So that's who if you had to go to Vegas to see him, who would you go see? I saw Van Halen because I didn't think David Lee Roth would be in the band for more than an hour, and I needed to see it before they broke up again.
This is true. This is
right.
So true.
Yeah, I saw their first 40 shows were not on the East Coast. I'm like, all right, we got to fly because somebody's going to stab somebody before the end of these 40 shows. We're
right. That's wild.
So who would you? I'm going to interview you.
Uh-oh.
Who would you get on an airplane to go see?
Let's see. Who have I actually gotten on the interview? A plane to go see so far. I've seen Metallica. I flew out to see Metallica for their 40th anniversary show, and then just a few like obscure hip hop groups like the Roots. Like I went and saw them at something.
I didn't know they played still. Is that recent?
They did what?
I didn't know they were still playing live still.
Oh yeah, there's of course they've been doing this night show for so long, but yeah, they do that. And then besides that, I mostly fly out for festivals. Like, I would say
spread the love.
Yeah, I play so much music now, like live music, that like trying to go see live shows that aren't in town is, but like I said, but something special like the Metallica thing, it was like it's a must. But besides that, like I'm just usually flying out to, like I said, festivals or like shows like the Grammys. Actually, that reminds me, speaking of Grammys, that goes to my second to last question for you. Well, actually, let's see about Jimmy. Who would you fly out to see, Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy, who you got?
Man. Well, since I've never seen Metallica, that would be one.
Wow.
And then Extol would be another one. I would love
Extol,
to see them like with a full production, strings and all.
Yeah.
If they had all that, I mean, that would be amazing. Blindside, I don't know if I would fly. Maybe I've never seen them. I've always wanted to see them.
I got to mix some of their stuff.
Oh,
I was
nice.
supposed to do one of those records, and I was so excited, but the economy in America, the dollar was so weak that me being paid normal was astronomical to them, and I was almost going to take a pay cut and go whatever, but because I think they're insane, right? They're just great. But go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, the furthest I've drove to Virginia to see Black Sabbath's last tour, that was 8 hours.
I know that was worth it.
And I went to Ohio last year. I'm going back this year for Immortal Fest. That's a bunch of bands.
Yes.
Who was in Sabbath? Was it full blown Geezer Butler and Tony and all that?
Everybody but the drummer. Butler was not in it.
Is he still alive, the drummer?
He's still alive, but apparently they said they made some excuse like, oh, they couldn't pay what he was asking for the tour. I know there's got to be more than that.
Sharon's tough, man.
Yeah. But Ozzy was right in front of the mic. He had lyrics on a screen. Of course, we couldn't see it, but he would only run to the side of the stage if there was no singing, and then he'd come right back,
Yeah.
Hey, I ain't mad, that is so wild, man. Man, so I got like, dang, dude, the industry price thing, I definitely want to touch on that for a second, and also awards. And I think that'll be it for me. So those two things. So let's talk about industry prices and just I know you were talking earlier about how the game has changed. And I remember Timbaland, Timbaland, the producer, talking about how much he used to get paid for producing a song. It was like somewhere around 200,000.
Oh yeah, 200,000 and 300,000. I had a friend of mine did 3 songs. I'm like, you are out of your mind.
Right. So he talked about, he said people, there's so many people doing it now, and there's so many just a lot more access, and then also a lot more people just throwing out songs without hardly any production or whatever. So how do producers survive in this current day and age?
So, amazing question. Truth be told, I don't know if I didn't have my pedigree, if I would be surviving right now. I'm 54 and I can't believe I'm still relevant. I hadn't blown out my ears. I'm very careful. I still listen to extremely cutting edge modern. I might go to the gym and rock out to something old school, but Bring Me the Horizon, obviously they're new and fresh. I hate their content at times because I know what it is, but the production of that is so insane. Staying fresh, staying new. But what you just said, I teach a lot of my interns. I'm like, hey, don't think that you're going to make any of the money that you read about, because no one's making that money anymore. You've got to constantly be reinventing yourself. Like I said, a lot of my interns or friends, hey, I'm going to go into score because that's easy and it pays well. I'm going to go into video games. You always got to have an A, B, and a C game. I've always done this for 35 years now, I guess. And I honestly am just blessed that I still do it. But again, there's a kid with a laptop in Denmark that can kill it. And the goal is, I don't want to compete with that kid. I want to work with that kid. And I think that's the mindset you have to have.
Yeah.
I'm not competitive in a degree of, we'll bury everybody. I'm competitive in hey man, don't be outworked today. Let's outwork everyone and all of us will rise. I refer studios, I refer producers. Man, that guy's great. I think Josiah and Disciples just a man right now. He's doing some of the best stuff there is out there. I don't believe in that kind of make fun of people criticism, but I do believe in all of us making sure the standard is high. Now, how do you make money, guys? That's a whole nother world. You got to work free for a while until your street cred's there, man. I got one of my interns, Colin Britton, nicest kid on earth. Known him since he was 15. He was coming in here just learning what mics do and this, that, and the other. I've worked with his band. Typical one of all, he's taking Adderall and all that, and just sweetest kid on earth, and just his brain's going too fast. I say all this. He went out to LA, man, and he paid his dues. He was sleeping on a couch. He was getting yelled at, working 18-hour days. Well, he has done 5 Seconds to Summer, Papa Roach. He paid his dues, and don't think you're going to get in this industry and you're going to get, if money is your goal for your first few years, you're in trouble.
Man, that's such a good, that's
I did a record for free.
Advice.
I did a record for free because, again, we were a metal band with horrible tones. Like, our guitar sounded bad. We didn't know how to tune drums. The singer would yell instead of, own it. And what I found out was, this jazz band that would practice where we taught, they sounded great. And I was like, hey, guys, can I record you? I have a 16-track analog recorder. I bought a bunch of gear, and I had recorded my band unsuccessfully a lot of times. And I just recorded him for free. And he said, well, no, let me give you $10 an hour, and, I'll pay for dinner. I'm like, fine, whatever. I just wanted the opportunity to record that drum set and that kick drum that I can hear sounds good. The guy was playing an upright bass. I've never mic'd one of those. This guy's, and so I'm sitting here thinking, opportunity to get experience.
Sure.
Some people walk in the room going, well, I want money. It's a bad attitude. I was willing to do it for free, and they were friends of mine, and they said, no, we're not going to, we'll pay you pennies. But we want to make sure we're not taking advantage of you. So I did maybe 15, 20 bucks an hour. I don't remember because I didn't care. And I just remember when I started mixing them and micing them, it just sounded good all of a sudden. And so then my brain starts going, well, what's he doing to his kick drum that we're not doing to ours? So that would be my advice. Don't think it's for money. Look for experience. And don't be competitive. Don't be backstabbing and conniving. Get along. If there's 5 restaurants downtown, I'll probably go take my wife downtown. If there's one, I'm probably not going to go. So I say that as in, we all can be a part of this. We don't have to pick each other off to rise. If you're rising because you're knocking people down, you're not doing it right.
That's right.
That's right.
Man, that's so good. All right. And then the last thing, second last thing, awards. What's your favorite award that you've won? Or that meant the most?
It'd be the first Dove Award, because the Grammy nods are cool. And I think total there's over like 22 nominations for Dove Awards, which I sit here and I go, wait, what? Because I'm still 25 in my brain, maturity wise, my body, but I think the first Dove Award, it was for Disciple. And I had been working so hard, so many hours, kind of like I told that intern. I'm like, dude, just go take your beatings, work those hours, outwork everybody. Don't connive, be legit, be honest. Integrity matters. And I do think integrity is why I'm still here. If 100%. You're burning bridges, and if you're ripping people off, and if you're cutting corners, that's not integrity. You've got to do the best work you could do. But the first Grammy, I remember working so hard for a long time, and I sat on the kitchen table and stared at it, because I remember just going, what is this, the finish line? I don't know. I'm not done, and so I think that was the one where I had to rethink about, what are my priorities? What are my goals? I'm not chasing a pile of money, and I'm not chasing awards, and I'm not chasing singles. But I think if you do the work the right way, and I think if you help these artists to find the best version of themselves, like if that singer hears that track back and they're going, wiping their eyes going, okay, then we've done it. We all got the song where it needed to be. Now, if awards show up after that, that's awesome. But don't chase the award. Chase the song. I can still listen to a song that I've heard 6 million times, and I can still listen to the whole song all the way through at the gym with the earbuds on, because they nailed it that day.
Yeah.
That day Steven Tyler just nailed it.
Nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
What you got there?
What does Travis like to do outside of work? Do you have a favorite hobby?
So I joined Top Golf. I go down and play Top Golf. As all musicians, I have kind of chronic back pain and neck pain and just all these. For some reason, having your body like this 5 hours a night is unhealthy. And then loading out the PA in minus 12-degree weather. So I think I have a lot of best advice to young people: take care of yourself, do yoga, stretch, wear smarter shoes. But hobby wise, man, just hanging around, hanging out with friends, my kids, man, my kids. I just so blessed to have these 3 amazing children. I didn't have a dad growing up. So my whole life I was like, man, I'm going to be that dad that I wished I had. My dad got sober at the end, so he came back around. So I don't want to discredit him for that. He's passed away, but in my childhood, he was gone. I mean, he'd admit that. That's not throwing him under the bus. So I think just being the best dad I can be, the fact that my kids love music and sports, so we're just all buddies.
That's your first ministry first and foremost, right there.
Absolutely.
So
if you're failing there, you're screwing up.
How old are your kids and what are they into?
So my youngest is a basketball coach now. He's still in college and he's 24. That's my youngest.
Okay.
We were kind of young when we had kids, and I'm kind of old. So there you go. That's a combination. My daughter is pursuing music. EmilyWyrick.com. Go follow her. She shocks me. Anyone who's worked with me, like, man, Travis is hard. Mm-hmm. He's hard on me. He'll beat me up when I need it. I get that. I do have regrets. There are some artists I was too hard on over the years. Looking back, I'm like, man, I might have beat that girl up too much. I'm just trying to get the best out of them. Sometimes when you get aggressive, they get better. Sometimes they don't. I might have misread a few people, but I'm hard on my daughter and she responds to it, because on the basketball court, if you foul her, she will score 30 points on you. And so you kind of know, well, okay, if you buck up on her, she's going to respond.
That's good.
And anyway, so she's chasing music, which I love, but scary because this industry's tough. Mm-hmm. And the third one, my oldest son, he is a 3D animator in Orlando. Wow. He worked for a firm for 2 years. His clients were like SpaceX and 3M. So yeah. And this is a kid who struggled in school academically, just like his father. Who found remember what we were talking about earlier about, hey, Travis, you're really bad at this, so don't do this or we'll be in federal tax prison. Let someone else do your taxes. Yeah. But Travis, God gave you talent here. And can you use that to do this? He is a 3D animator and he pulls stuff out of the air. So it's not like you paint a barn, the barn's painted. This is him designing something from nothing. So I watch it and I'm in awe. But all that being said, he went solo, freelance. So now he does it himself. Now, at first I was worried as a father of, hey, can you manage the scheduling, the booking, because that's, y'all know, it's miserable.
Oh yeah.
And I call it admin.
It's half the job.
Jay and I are both, we're both entrepreneurs, so we get it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and most people don't understand out there, hey, don't get us wrong, the podcast, the studio, without admin, these things don't exist. You've got to stay ahead of everything. Mm-hmm. And so that was my fear for my son, and God bless him. He gets it. God put a friend in his life, and she has really kind of gone, hey, did you send that invoice? You need to label it this way. Don't forget to do the W-9. And so, yeah, that kind of stuff. So anyway.
He's in Orlando still, or?
He's in Orlando because his friends are there. That's where his job was initially, and he just loves it there.
Yeah.
And freelancing, my fear was, well, now he never needs to leave the house. But and with me, I would play guitar. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a car, so I would literally play vinyl records, and I'd listen to my Jimi Hendrix record, and I'd hear him play notes. So I think he's doing that, with computers, and he would. If y'all are into 3D animation, I think it's Blake Wyrick Design on Instagram. Okay. He posts this stuff and it's like insane. So anyway,
I still listen to Jimi Hendrix on vinyl. So there you go.
Right?
Oh,
As we all should. As we all
yes,
should.
absolutely.
Well, you want to talk about, putting a microphone in front of greatness, in the early days it was. Now after a while he'd start eating a bunch of acid and playing with a reverb unit,
Right.
and stuff got a little out of hand. But in the early days it was just great players with microphones in front of them.
Right.
And my best advice to all producers out there and engineers, stop thinking your gear is going to do the work for you, your plugins and all. Is
Nailed it.
that the best bass take on earth? Because when you hear Flea play Higher Ground or any of that, it's like, hey, you could have just plugged in his bass direct. It still would have been this take. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Man,
yeah.
super.
So that part's fun.
Man, I tell you, I appreciate this interview. By the way, I hit up Kenny Springs, man, a few minutes ago.
Did he give you love back? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. I let him know we were interviewing you right now, man.
that's
Yeah,
my dude. I did his solo project, both
oh,
of
you
them.
did a solo project too?
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I think Kenny may have been the person that told me about you like years ago.
Okay. Nice.
I forgot about that, but yeah, we had a conversation about you. It had to have been 10 years ago, man.
Well, he was one of the 4 singers.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
and he did a solo project, and it was so cool because he found this kid that, again, like the laptop, but this is Jay. I'll remember his name, but he was doing the ADAT, and he had all the rolling modules and the MoFats, and I got them over there somewhere. They're probably still back when you would sequence everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And dude, he turned it in on a mini disc player. And I'm like, Kenny, I don't even know what a mini disc player is, but I would import it in. Wow. And then we do all his vocals and mix it.
Nice. Dang, that sounds like
that man is gifted. Kenny Springs, man.
He's amazing, man. He's
so a word we hadn't used much is anointing in this interview. And there's a difference, right?
Yes.
When Kenny, there's a couple songs where it's just like, all right, Kenny, come on in and look at the hair on my arms. I think you nailed it. Because we can all sing about God and Jesus, but if we're just singing in G major, trying to be in key, and delete. When he puts the anointing on it and the sincerity, man, it just it sticks to the record. And that Grace of Motion record is anointed. Same thing.
Yes.
And there's a difference, man. Some of those disciple records are anointed. It's just
absolutely.
Different. Just different.
Yeah, that want to be sweet, man. That song.
Yeah. Wait, which one?
Won't It Be Sweet?
Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Man.
That's JD Blair. JD Blair was on that one. Look at you.
Yeah, JD, man. You know Shake Anderson? Sam Anderson?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's probably the person that I knew like the Grace and Motion guys from before that, but as far as JD and Big, that's who I met them through. You might know him in the end. I have to
I probably know him and don't know the name.
Right.
And, 7 Degrees to Kevin Bacon. So Grace in Motion, Halloran brought in a little protege, I guess is the word you say, a little keyboard kid who was pretty banging, Julius Blue.
I know
and
Julius.
He quiet as a church mouse, man. He's one of my best friends now. He plays with my daughter all the time.
Oh wow!
But he's been my keyboard guy for 20 years, and he still tells the story. That Grace of Motion record changed his life. He got to watch it. And Halloran brought him because he said, hey, I want this little kid to see greatness. J.D. Blair, there's, all this stuff. Kelvin Wooten, Mark. And here's this kid just probably 17 or 18. I can ask him, watching these people just do their thing. But he was playing some overdubs on a session, and I didn't know what his abilities were. A lot of people read charts. Some people do Nashville. So I'm an ear player, but I can read charts. But
that's me too. Yeah,
right. Absolutely. So I sang a melody to Julius, and he played it back for me perfect. And I just smiled. I said, oh, you're one of those.
Oh God. Yo.
And I was like, when this session's over, I need to get your number. Because I don't play piano, but I can sing what you. And so he and I hit it off, man. He does a lot of my programming stuff. But his little brother is Chris Blue, who won The Voice season 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there's your big circle of,
so many intersections, man, overall. So what is your favorite thing about being a Christian? That's my last question.
I think knowing that you are not promised good days, and we all battle. I probably more so lately have been open to battling anxiety. I say depression, but I'm not depressed. So it's a weird, it's like I know there's just a lot going on and my mind's fighting things and all this. I wouldn't call it depression, but someone may clinically call it depression. I don't know the rules, right? Um, and so I think knowing that God has me no matter what, and God made me exactly as he wanted me to. I'm obnoxious at times. I'm this, I'm that. I am so broken. And I think my favorite part of being a Christian is knowing that even though, and all the chaos and all the mistakes and all the regrets, I don't use regrets much because I think we learn from mistakes. So I'm okay to make mistakes. And I tell my artists all the time, if you're not making mistakes, we're probably doing it wrong, because making mistakes means you're really challenging yourself. So if you're not pushing past that, then we're not accomplishing anything you haven't done before. But anyway, so I think that just knowing that no matter what, God is there for me, and he doesn't promise you easy times. He promises you he'll be there for them. And we could do a whole podcast on all the chaos that has happened in my life, but it doesn't define me. It's just obstacles I overcame. And so that's the Christianity where you get to take a deep breath. Even this morning, I woke up a little off, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to meditate. I say meditate, it's praying, but a lot of times it's silence and just thinking. And
Absolutely.
yeah, go to the gym, get jacked up on some energy drinks you shouldn't be drinking, and just try to work it off,
Yeah. Good.
But just knowing that God is just, there's no gray area. It is a foundation that we know is there. And the world's going nuts. We all know that. And you can sit there and go, huh, okay, well, that's exactly what the Bible said would happen. So why am I shocked?
God is never changing, right? He's
correct.
That's good.
And even, we pull away, we get stronger, the world blows up. I remember telling, I got to be careful with this. Let me phrase it properly. It was with my ex-wife, and just saying, we were just so blessed at the time, and I just said, we're so blessed. God's blessed us so much. And I said, this is a weird thing, and I'm opening myself up. I hope I don't get myself in trouble on, family matters, but we had a rough round there when I got divorced. But so I said, we praise God right now. Everything, we got it all going on, right? We got it all going on. Everything's working. I said, will we praise him in the valley? And that's all I said. Man, about 4 weeks later, literally all hell broke loose in our family and our church. We're talking murders and all this.
Wow.
And and that was okay, God. I wasn't thinking 4 weeks. I was thinking more 4 years down the road. But hey, and it was like, okay, Travis, you're the one who said it. Are you going to praise God even though everything just broke? And I did. I was, because you don't know until it's time. And I did. I never thought God didn't have my back. Life got tough. Life got crazy. My kids were put through chaos with all that went on in our lives. My marriage did not survive. The biggest failure of my life was my marriage. My only job was to keep my family together, and I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah.
So but still on the outside of that going, okay, this is cool. God said, yeah, I know, Travis, I know, but I'm still here. So, and God healed and repaired everything. I mean,
So what can the Christian metal community do to help and support Travis Wyrick?
Prayer, obviously, that's a no-brainer. I think, oh, man, that's a heavy question. You got me.
We do what we can.
I think it is. It's just prayer, because it's huge and it works. Sure. I'm so thankful. I would just say more, what can I do for your community? Because my goodness, you guys have supported me and my arts and my artists for so long. And, I humbly say, sometimes I'm just in the room when great things are happening. Don't give me too much credit here, guys, and I get that, there's some times when I might do something cool or be a part of something and make a difference. But surrounding yourself with amazing artists and musicians, that's the blessing. And for all you guys to support these bands till the end of time, y'all saw Pillar played last night, man. Dexter's been texting me all morning because that's what he does. I think he sleeps 3 hours a day. It's crazy. Because this is another day for Lester, right? He's got 7 more gigs.
Oh, Lester, man.
He's a
big and just I think, and most importantly, pray and support these bands because again, their primary revenue, which was not much anyway, got taken away 9 years ago when, hey, let's not buy CDs anymore. Let's stream music and give it to this billionaire over here. Let's give all our music to the Spotify guy.
Mercy.
So to go buy the hoodie, don't complain when the ticket's $30 because that's the only money they're going to get.
Yeah,
we used to go to Best Buy every day and spend $16 on a CD. I don't have to do that anymore. So I can't complain if I buy the hoodie for $85.
Go to a show and buy the merch.
There is no better way to physically help that ministry. And if you feel like it, go give them some Venmo cash for no reason.
Right.
Don't think these bands are rich or they're out there.
Man.
They're out there for the love of the music, for the love of the game, as Pillar said it. But they're also out there because God called them to do it. And that's where Kevin Disciple and I, one of my dearest friends, I've known him since he was 17. He was just that little kid in here. And he even asked me, why did you stop doing it? And I said, one day I woke up and I didn't want to play on stage anymore. And I felt like hindsight, God took the chip out of me that loved to be on stage.
Mm.
And so he's always said, I still got the chip in me. 30 years later, I said that probably 20 years ago. And he still say, oh, I still got the chip in me. I still love to be on stage. I said, but Kevin, you're up there praising God and leading people to Christ. I was in an 80s band probably doing the exact opposite. Yeah. So I'm glad God took the chip out of me so I didn't die.
Yeah. It's amazing. I've always loved Disciple that they're, it's three of my favorite bands that's been around for 30 years and are still playing, which is Project 86, Spoken and Disciple. Now Project is just recorded, they're releasing their last album.
Yeah.
Spoken's still going. Like Matt does solo worship albums.
Yeah.
He does all kinds of stuff, but he's still got the band going. It's amazing. Yep. And
I don't think anyone tours harder than him if you follow him on social media. It's like, hey guys, I'm in the outskirts of Germany. If anyone needs a house concert tonight, I'm like, I'm sorry, wait, what?
Where?
I'm in North Dakota, and I don't even know if I've ever been to North Dakota. Why are you randomly in North Dakota, Matt?
Yeah,
Spoken. That is Matt's mission.
So we'll wrap up with this just because this is a memory. It just came to me. I won a guitar, and I don't play guitar. So when I was booking bands, I entered a contest or something online, and I believe it was autographed by 12 Stones.
Oh yeah.
And I had it for like a couple years, and I had booked Disciple. I booked Spoken a couple times, and so I've seen. I mean, over the years, I've probably seen them 20 times.
Yeah.
And so I gave Matt the guitar. And he was like, oh, this is cool. And he wiped the autograph off. He's like, this is a nice guitar. I guess he still got it. I don't know. But after that, I could pretty much get in. He was like, oh, you're on the guest list. Come on.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, though.
They were great, man. And it's funny because Disciple, they would always say the best singer in Christian music isn't famous, and it was Matt from Spoken.
Oh,
and
wow.
That was the big talk. And I remember Kevin, I don't think I'll get in trouble for this. He was talking to Brandon Ebel. I know you always gotta. He was talking to Brandon when he was on Tooth and Nail, and I love Brandon Ebel. He's say what you will, but he's obviously in a business to make a living and do what he does. So people that hate on him probably just don't understand how the industry works as well as they could. But I say that as in Kevin said, hey, he told Brandon, he goes, hey, do you know who the best singer in Christian music is? And Brandon let him know. He said, and Kevin kind of smart aleck said, his name's Matt and he's on your label and you should do something with him. He's the best singer. And it was so funny because here's a guy, instead of telling him to spend more money on Disciple, he's saying, hey, you need to go spend more money on this artist on your roster. He's amazing. Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's got such a great range and all. That's so good.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And it's still there. So's Kevin. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Well,
Go listen to
God
AC/DC and then tell me what you think.
I
right?
mean, well, God has blessed them, right? So that's so good. Well, man, this has been a blast. I appreciate it.
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Oh
so
man,
much.
pleasure's mine, guys.